Ambassador Zethkar clicked his mandibles in satisfaction as he reviewed the final documentation. After 3 standard galactic cycles, the isolation protocol for System Sol 3 was finally complete. The barbaric humans had been deemed too dangerous, too unpredictable, and far too aggressive to be allowed contact with civilized galactic society. "The quantum barriers are in place," reported Lieutenant Vexana, her crystalline voice echoing through the command center of the enforcement vessel. "Righteous purpose. No faster-than-light travel in or out of their system. No subspace communications. They are completely cut off." Zethkar's thorax swelled with pride. The Galactic Council had entrusted him with this crucial mission after the humans had shocked the galaxy during first contact. Instead of the expected awe and submission that most primitive species displayed when meeting their galactic superiors, the humans had somehow reverse-engineered Council technology within days. Worse, they had begun asking uncomfortable questions about galactic trade agreements, territorial rights, and something they called freedom of navigation. Most disturbing of all, they had laughed. Actually laughed when the Vegan hegemony's representative had explained the natural hierarchy of galactic civilization. "Sir," Vexana's voice carried a note of confusion, "I'm detecting some unusual readings from the isolation perimeter." Zethkar's attention snapped to the holographic display. "Define unusual." "The humans appear to be testing the barriers. They're sending primitive chemical rockets against the quantum field." "Let them waste their resources," Zethkar dismissed, with a wave of his chitinous appendage. "Chemical propulsion against quantum barriers? Typical human stupidity." 3 months later, Vexana's report was considerably less confident. "Sir, they've stopped sending rockets." "Finally came to their senses, I presume." "Not exactly, sir. Intelligence suggests they've been studying the barrier interactions. Our quantum physicists estimate it would take them decades to understand the principles involved." "Good. By then, they'll have forgotten their dreams of expansion and settled into proper planetary isolation." Zethkar was reviewing trade reports from the Outer Rim when the alarms began shrieking. "Sir!" Vexana's voice cracked with disbelief. "Something just punched through the quantum barrier." "Impossible. What was it? Asteroid? Debris?" "Negative, sir. It was structured, and it's broadcasting." The message came through in perfect galactic standard. "Howdy, y'all. This is Commander Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Absolutely No Way. We're here to discuss some terms and conditions." Zethkar stared at the display showing a crude, angular vessel that looked like it had been assembled in someone's garage, which, according to the intelligence reports that began flooding in, was not far from the truth. "How?" he whispered. The answer came over the next several hours, as more human vessels appeared. They hadn't broken the quantum barriers through. Superior understanding of physics. They had done something far more disturbing. They had built around them. The humans had somehow created what they cheerfully called quantum tunneling drives, devices that didn't so much break the barriers as ignore them entirely. Their lead scientist, a human named Dr. Martinez, had apparently looked at the Council's impenetrable quantum field and said, "Hold my beer." But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that they had shared the technology. "Sir," Vexana reported with the tone of someone delivering news of a terminal diagnosis, "we're receiving communications from everywhere." The display lit up with transmission sources from across the galaxy. Species that had been isolated for behavioral correction were suddenly broadcasting again. The Rigelians, quarantined for excessive individualism. The Cedian Collective, isolated for refusing to accept hierarchical trade structures. The Deneb Free Traders, cut off for economic disruption. All of them had somehow acquired human quantum, tunneling technology. This is Captain Rodriguez of the human trade vessel Economic Disruption, came another transmission. We're currently en route to deliver infrastructure assistance to the Vegan hegemony. We hear y'all have been having some supply chain issues since everyone started trading freely. Zethkar's mandibles clicked frantically as he processed the implications. The humans hadn't just escaped their isolation. They had systematically freed every species the Council had deemed problematic, and they were doing it with technology that seemed to have been invented by what their own reports described as a bunch of college students in a garage who got really angry about being told they couldn't leave. Sir, incoming priority transmission from the Council homeworld. The hologram of High Counselor Murthak materialized, his usually pristine robes disheveled and his facial tendrils twitching with stress. Ambassador Zethkar, you are to cease all isolation protocols immediately and return to Galactic Prime for emergency consultation. Sir, I don't understand. The humans have established something they call the Galactic Free Trade and Mutual Defense Association. Half the galaxy has already joined. They're offering technology sharing, infrastructure development, and what they term liberation from arbitrary trade restrictions. Worse, they've started something called competitive economics. Our monopoly on hyperdrive technology is worthless because their tunneling drives are somehow more efficient. Zethkar felt his exoskeleton go cold. What are your orders, sir? The Council is negotiating. It seems the humans are willing to discuss terms. They've invited us to something called a diplomatic barbecue on a space station they built, in what used to be our most secure trade route. As Zethkar signed off and began preparing for the journey back to Galactic Prime, he reflected on the spectacular failure of the isolation protocol. The Council had tried to cage humanity, and, instead, humanity had handed out keys to everyone else's cages. The last transmission he received was from Commander Chen. Thanks for the quantum barrier specs, by the way. Really helped us understand how to build better ones. We've set up a few around some of our new friends' systems, just in case anyone gets any ideas about surprise visits. Y'all are welcome to visit any time, though. We'll leave the light on. Zethkar looked out at the human vessels escorting his ship for diplomatic protection, and realized with growing horror that the galaxy would never be the same. The humans hadn't just failed to stay isolated, they had turned isolation into a liberation movement. And they were just getting started.